Hey there, welcome to the complete layout for Sketchup course for interior design. This course is created for absolute beginners who would like to learn how to create professional interior drawings and presentations with layout for Sketchup. My name is Manish and I'll be your instructor for this course. I've worked with Sketchup for over 10 plus years as an architect and I'll be happy to share all my expertise with you. So you've come to the right place. This course consists of the first half of our full course called the Complete Layout for Sketchup Course for Interior Design with 10 free lessons. In this series, you will learn how to optimize SketchUp models before sending it to layout, setting up the right styles in SketchUp for layout, set up the right templates in layout, create plans, elevations and sections for your interior models, send the SketchUp model to layout the right way, add views and scales in layout for SketchUp, copy views and create clipping masks, align views in layout, and finally you learn how to use layers in layout. So there's a whole lot of useful content packed in this course, but if you'd like to learn a lot more about layout for SketchUp, check out our full course where you will learn to finish this project and also get access to new modules and lessons. Click the first link in this video's description and it will take you to our course. Also, please do not forget to like and subscribe as it keeps us motivated in releasing more awesome content like this for y'all. If you decide to check out the course and content first before you subscribe to our channel, please feel free to do so. Now without further ado, let's get started with the course. Hey guys, in this video I'll show you what is required before we start diving deep into creating our drawings and layout for SketchUp. So you can open the master resource sheet. So to open the master resource sheet, you can click on the resources here and then click on the master resource sheet. And that would open the required links and exercise files required for this course. So I'll talk a brief about the exercise file so you can open this up. Now each file is around 200 MB. So what you can do is you can work with a single layout master file. So once you reach the 6th lesson of this course, you would understand the importance of using a single file for the rest of the course. So in this case, I'm using send to layout master file. But you can go ahead and start with the basics. So for each lesson, I have a file which you can work with. It would make more sense once you reach the send to layout part of the course. And then we have the main software, which is SketchUp 2021. Now layout comes along with SketchUp. So all you need to do is just install SketchUp and it would install layout for SketchUp as well. It's a fairly simple process to download and install SketchUp, and you can just open this link and follow the instructions on the sketchup.com website. Alright, so now we'll jump into SketchUp and I'll show you how I use SketchUp and just the basics so that you can follow the course along quite easily. So once you open SketchUp, you will find a template called drafting style for layout. Now this is the template I use when I create drawings in layout for SketchUp. So I will be showing you how to create this template as well in this course. For now, I will open this. Alright, now the only quick change that I need to is change the background to white. So I'm just going to go to my styles here, my default tray. And then I'll go to edit. And then you'll get an option here called background settings and click here to change the color and make it completely white. So that's 255 for all the values here for RGB. Press OK. Now it becomes a white background. This is what I need. And you can also update the style. Now this is something which I missed out in the course video, so keep a lookout for this. And how I use SketchUp is just some shortcuts that I personally use, which benefits me as well. So before I use those shortcuts, I will assign them. So you can go to Windows, Preferences, and click on Shortcuts here. So you can search for hide. So I use the shortcut F2. Now sometimes F2 may not work in your keyboard because the function keys, which is F2, F3, F4, is not turned off in the BIOS settings. In that case, you can assign a shortcut, for example, Control 1 for hide. Unhide all could be Control 2 and unhide last could be Control 3. This is another shortcut which you can use. But in my case, I use F2, F3 and F4. Now another cool shortcut which I use is toggle visibility, which I've assigned J. And then finally there's X-ray mode as well, which is Y. Another shortcut which I use is group. So if I click on edit make group, you can see that I've assigned the shortcut G. Now this was previously assigned for components, but I create more groups than components. So it made more sense for me to make this shortcut as G. So I'll show that to you quickly. Now if I make a rectangle and just double click and press G, that would make it a group. I'm minimizing one step where I have to right click and click on make group. So it helps me model faster as well. And then I can enter the group, push this out. Now if I want to hide this, I can select this group and press F2 to hide, or you can press Ctrl 1 as well. And then you can press F3 to unhide last and F4 to unhide all. Now another cool shortcut which I use is Alt W, which switches to parallel projection mode. So you can go to camera and see that I've assigned this shortcut Alt W, and I've also assigned a shortcut Alt T, which is for top view. So if I press Alt T, it goes to the top view. So you can maybe assign that shortcut as well. So just search for camera and you can see that I've assigned parallel projection as Alt W and standard views top is Alt T. Now these are some of the shortcuts that has worked for me to help me model faster in SketchUp and overall increase productivity and save a lot of time in the long run. Now that's about it that you need to know to get started in this course. I will be using an existing model which is part of my bedroom design course, where you learn how to create a photorealistic render of the bedroom. So I'm going to use the same model in this course and place it in the center of the scene and then create some nice drawings out of that model. You will find all the models and more in the exercise file, so nothing to worry. Right, so hopefully that will help you out in following this course properly. If you have any doubts, you can reach out on the Facebook group or on the Discord server that we have for this class, or you can also ask in the Q&A box of this course. Alright, I'll see you guys next video. Cheers. Hey guys, in this video I'm going to show you how to set up our SketchUp model before we bring it into layout. So this is the model which we've used in the first scene of Complete SketchUp and V-Ray course for interior design. We're going to use the same model, sort of clean it up, and then send it to layout. So I'm going to show you step by step how to create the sections and how you can set up the elevations and plans. And the most important part of this process is creating proper scenes. So I'm going to start by deleting all these sections and then placing them again one by one. So I'm going to select all of these, then click on delete. I'm going to unhide, so I'm going to press F4. So this will unhide any additional objects in our scene. And there's some additional walls here as well. So let's go to view and click on hidden objects. Now you are not able to unhide because that object was within a group. So you will have to enter that group and then press F4 to unhide the walls. Alright, I can also delete this extra face here. I don't need that. And since this is a live component, which is part of the new version of SketchUp, I can right click, go to configure live component. And then simply reduce the open angle to 0. So that would make it a closed room. Alright, and there's an additional light as well, which comes from V-Ray. So we don't need this light, so we can select that light and delete. Now before I modify this room anymore, like for example removing this room, I'm just going to purge this model using two awesome plugins. So to start off, I can purge the model by going to extensions, clean up, and clicking on clean. So now we can use the default settings, which is the scope, which is a model, and then purge unused, which is going to delete any unused lines or objects in our scene. And then we can leave the rest of the settings as is. So click on clean up. You'll also notice that your file size would reduce each time you purge the model or use the cleanup plugin. And this helps in modeling and rendering faster with SketchUp as well. Alright, so now you can see how much of a difference it's made. So you can see that the edges have reduced, the faces have reduced, and so on. So this is better than the default purge option, which you can find by going to Windows, Model Info, and selecting Statistics and clicking on Purge Unused. Now it doesn't really make a difference because I've already purged the model. And another useful plugin which I use is the Solid Inspector plugin. So just go to Tools, and at the bottom we have Solid Inspector 2, so click on that. So now you can see that it shows the errors in our scene and where it can fix the model as well. So simply click on Fix All. So some models couldn't be fixed. So what I will have to do is first explode this group. So right click and click on explode. And then I can hide the top slab. And then I can go back to Tools, Solid Inspector, click on Fix All. So simply select the surface border and it will show in the model where the error is showing up. So you can see that this is our error here. So all you need to do, hide this, enter this group, and then simply draw a line. So that would make it a proper face. So you can delete these extra lines and then again go back to Tools, Solid Inspector, Fix All. You can see that there was an extra face. All you need to do is make it a group and delete. And now if you go to Tools, Solid Inspector, you can see that there's no error. So there was an extra face overlap to this model and that is why the error was showing up. Alright, great. So we fixed the model and now what we can do is sort of remove this extra flooring here because we don't really need this to show up in layout for SketchUp. So what you can do is you can make an extra box outside, make it a group, extend it out and extend it to the edge of the wall. Alright, so this is one group and this is another group. And now we can use the solid tools in SketchUp. So go to View, Toolbars and switch on Solid Tools. Now I use another plugin called Bool Tools, which comes from Mindside Studios. This works equally well, but in most cases, the solid tools within SketchUp should work fine as well. So now what I need to do is click on the Subtract tool, and then I need to select the first solid, and then select the second solid. So now you can see that it is not selecting the second solid. So we need to make this a solid. So as you can see, if I select this box, and if I go to Entity Info, you'll see that it's called a solid group. But if I select this group, the solid group option doesn't show up. So to fix this, we're going to use another plugin called Solid Inspector, which is free from extensions. So go to Tools and click on Solid Inspector 2. And now we can see that if I select this object, there are 4 external faces that I need to fix. All you need to do is select the external face, click on Tab, and then you can see that this is the problem in the model. So you can see that these are the 4 faces that we need to fix by pressing Tab. You can either fix it manually by simply going and deleting this face, or you can click on Fix All. So that would get rid of those extra faces. And now if I scroll out, click here to zoom extends. And now if I select this group, you can see that it's a solid group. So now we can use the Subtract tool. So click on the Subtract tool, click on the first solid and then the second solid. Give it a time for the calculation and then it should subtract the solid peacefully. Alright, so now you can see that we subtract the group and now I can simply delete these extra tiles here. So I'm just going to go to the top view and then select all of these. Press Ctrl on your keyboard and do a drag selection to select any additional wooden tiles here as well. And then click on delete. Alright, great. So now we've created our flooring as well. Awesome. Now we can do a quick solid inspector check. So let's select the entire model and go to Tools and click on Solid Inspector 2. So there's no errors, everything looks good, and we are ready to use this model for layout. So I'm going to save this out. So click on Ctrl S to save your model. So that's how you can clean your model using these 2 awesome plugins called Cleanup and Solid Inspector 2 by TomTom. It works really well in reducing the size of your file and it helps in modeling faster as well. In the next video, I'll show you how to set up the styles in the SketchUp model before we send it into layout. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers. Hey guys, welcome back. Now before I head to layout, I'm just going to change the template in SketchUp. I'm going to create my own template and I'm going to use this template for all my SketchUp to layout process because it helps in creating better lines and better drawings in layout as well. Alright, so depending on which units you use in your country, you can select the appropriate units. In India, we use both inches and millimeters, but the official units for India is millimeters. I'm going to select architectural millimeters. Alright, so the first thing what you need to do is switch on the default tray on the right. So just go to Windows, default tray, and then show tray. So it will show up on the right. And all you need to do is adjust the scenes. So before that, I'm going to delete Sumele, who comes with every template in SketchUp. And I'm also going to purge this model because we have Sumele's materials in it. So let's go to Extensions, Clean Up, and click on Clean, and then click on Clean Up. So now you can see that the 7 colors which comes with Sumele has been purged. So now it's a clean model. And now I can go to my styles and start changing the values which I need for layout. So what you can do is you can just go to Edit, and you can start with the edge settings. So we're going to keep the profile to 1. Now what this does is, now for example, if I draw a box here, you can see that the edge is slightly thick. So if I change this to 1, it becomes less thick. So keep the profile to 1. And we're also going to change the line color, because when we draw on layout, we would like to highlight certain objects in layout, in the floor plan or in sections. And if this is dark, we won't be able to highlight anything in the plan. So we can change this to a value of say 128 and 128 here. And blue is going to have 128 as well. So press OK. So that would give it a nice dark gray color, which is perfect for drafting and layout for SketchUp as well. So it gives it a pencil look, which is slightly off black, sort of a lead color. And when you want to define something, you can simply trace with black and layout. Or if you want to highlight something, you can trace in black as well. Alright, next we can go to boxes. So the front color is always white and the back color is blue. This helps to see which faces are reversed as well. It's always important to have your front color facing the camera, because that's where the material is going to be applied as well. And keeping the back color blue also helps us understand which faces are reversed in the model. For now, we can leave the settings as is, and we can change it later if required, and keep the style to display shaded with texture. Next, we can go to the background settings. And for the background settings, I'm going to switch off the sky. So you can see that we have a sky here. So I'm going to switch this off. So now we have a nice clean background. And then I can go to my modeling settings, and I can change the section fill color as well. So I'm going to change this to 128, 128, and 128. So a nice dark color for our section fill, which we can change later. If required, you can make it completely black as well. So if I go to Tools, Section Plane now, and make a section, you can see that the section fill is gray in color. Now the line's a little too thick, so I'm going to change the section line width to 1. So now it becomes more thin, and which would look better in layout for SketchUp as well. So that's all we need to do in styles. You can go ahead and add tags as well if you want to add it to your template. Say for example, walls, windows, doors, and so on. So you don't need to keep creating tags every time. But for this workshop, this should suffice. And also you can notice that this circle has come on the styles icon. So I'll need to click on this, and that would update the style as well. So you can either update the style, or you can also create this as a separate style. So you can click on create new style, and then you can rename this to drafting for layout style. So this would be saved here, and then click on the circle button to update the style. Alright, great. So now I can delete a section. I can delete this box. I can purge the model one last time. So click on extensions, clean up, and clean with last settings. And then all I need to do is go to file and click on save as template. Call this drafting style for layout. You can also give a description. This template consists of the appropriate styles, appropriate line weights for drafting in layout for SketchUp. And you can also set it as a default template. So click on save. And now when you go to file new, or let's say file new from template, you can go to my templates, and then you can see that we have the drafting style for layout. So you can go ahead and create another style for the inches template as well. But for millimeters, we are good to go. So the next time I open SketchUp, you can go to more templates, my templates, and click on drafting style for layout. Now, if you want to make this your favorite template, you can just simply click on the love button here, and that would set it as a default template. And the next time you open SketchUp, it will show up here as well. Alright, so finally I've set up the template here. Now before that, I will need to copy the model into this model, or you can change the styles in the existing model as well. So I'll show you how to copy it correctly. So let's open SketchUp. So I can copy this. So let me just select only the model. I don't need to select the V-Ray components. So I've selected only the model. Let's also make sure that all the objects in the scene are seen. You can see that everything in our scene is seen. So now I can select this, make a drag selection, which selects all the objects in the scene. Then you can either right click and click on copy, or you can also go to edit, click on copy, and then simply go to your new file, go to edit, click on paste in place. Give it a bit for the process to happen. And now you can see that our model is brought in perfectly. We can also check the dimensions. It's 152 mm, which is perfect for our layout scene as well. And finally, you can save it out as well. Alright, so this is a clean model. There's no scenes or anything set up. In the next video, before I set up the scenes and everything, I will set up the template and layout as well. So we will jump into layout in the next video. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers. Hey guys, welcome back. In this video, I'll show you how to set up the template and layout for SketchUp. So to get started, I'm going to open layout. So you can just search for layout 2021 and open it up. It comes with the SketchUp Pro version installed into your system. Alright, so layout for SketchUp also comes with different templates, and you can choose your own template as well. So let's click on more templates, and we can select a plain paper for now. And you can see that there's no A1 or A2 size, so we will create that size in layout for SketchUp. So let's start off by selecting A3 landscape. So the first thing what I'm going to do is change the layout to A1 size, which is 594 by 841 mm. Most architectural firms and interior design firms use A1 or even A0 sometimes, but in most firms, they use A1 to print drawings and more. So the first thing what you need to do is go to File and click on Document Setup. And then you need to go to Paper. And then here you can change the size of your page. So you can see that it comes with the A1 and A0 size. Or you can also create your custom size by giving the height and width. So since in the paper, I can see A1, I'm going to select A1. So that's 594 by 841 mm. I'd also like to see the margins in my layout, so I'm going to select margins. And I'm going to change the color of my margin. So I'm just going to make it sort of dark gray. And it's kept at 10 mm from the borders. So you can see that we have this nice clean margin in layout for SketchUp. So let's click on close. Alright, so this is all we need for the layout. Now I'll show you the various tools that comes in layout. So we have the basic tools, which is line, arc, rectangle, circle, polygon, and so on. And we also have the dimensioning tools, for example, text, label, dimension. For dimension, we use the shortcut D, so that would switch the dimension tool. And then of course the space bar for the select tool. We also have table, but we hardly use table sometimes when you want to create schedules and so on. And then we have erase to erase stuff in layout. And we also have style, which simply samples a certain style and then helps you apply it on other new objects or dimensions and so on. Split and join refers to lines which you would like to sort of join together. So for example, if I draw a line this way, then I click on split, then I can split the line at various junctures, and I can also join them by clicking on the join tool and then joining them together. So now you can see that it comes as one line. And then of course you can add different pages and also view, start a presentation directly within layout. Alright, so first thing what you need to do is check the shape style. So you'll find it in the default tray under color. So we have shape style. Now if you don't find it here, you can go to Windows and you'll find all these options here. You need to switch them on and it'll show up in the default tray. So for the shape style, we can use the default settings, which is stroke 0.5, dashes, which is a solid line. We can obviously change this later if we need to change it to a dashed line and so on. Now the stroke style is for various round corners and so on, but I hardly use this in my drawings. And then we have the leader lines, which is the start arrow and the end arrow. So we can give an arrow for the start arrow. So for example, if I go to my label here, so now you can see that we have an arrow there. Or if it is a straight line, the arrow goes away. So make sure you give an arrow. And we can increase the size of the arrow. So we can keep it to around 4. This works well for A1 size sheets. And we can also change the size of the text. So you can go to the text style and we can change it to Swiss 721 BT, which is generally used in most architectural firms and is like a standard as well. So I'm going to change the size to maybe 14 and that should suffice. Also, I will be changing the end arrow and keep it to the plane. So the next time you select label, you can see that the options change. We can then look at our regular text style as well. So let's go back to the select tool. Let's go to text style here and make sure to select Sys 721 BT. You can go ahead and select any other font as well, but in my case, I'll be using Swiss 721 BT, and I'm also going to select the size of 14. So now if I draw text, you can select the text tool here. You can just give a random text there, and this is going to be the size, which will come as default. So it will always read from the last setting that you made for your text. Alright, great. Now these text sizes are small because the sheet of course is big, which is an A1 size. And when you print it, it will be readable and works well for the drawing as well. Alright, so next is dimension. So we can select the dimension here. Now, before you click and create your dimension, you need to change the settings first, because after you click and then select this and change it, it would apply the settings only for this dimension. So make sure you activate the dimension tool, and then you make the changes here. The next time you create a dimension, it would read from these settings. So the first thing what I need to do is change the stroke. So I'm going to keep it to 0.1. And I'm also going to change the start arrow to our architectural standard dash line there. So we have a proper nice slash, which is standard for most architectural drawings. And we can also change the size here to 5 points. 5 points. Now we can go to dimension style and we can change the position of our label on the dimension. So we can change the center. And even for the angular dimension, we can keep it a horizontal. And then we can go to our scale and we can keep the length to millimeters. And we can also keep the precision to 1 mm. We don't need to go 0.0 because 1 mm works in most cases, and you can go up to 1000, 2000 mm, 10,000 mm, and so on. Alright, so these are settings that we need. So now if I create my dimension, you can see how it comes. Comes pretty neat. And now if I go back to my settings and click on dimension again, it will read from the previous settings that we made changes to, and then it will create your dimensions. Now if you don't want to display your units, you can disable display units. So the next time you create your dimension, it comes with all the units. Let's keep the units on because it helps reduce confusion. So now if I draw the dimension again, it comes with the units. Alright. You can also, of course, change this text style, but in our case, we're going to be using the Swiss 721 BT. Right, so next is our angular dimension. So you can click on the drop down here and click on angular. Now we can change the stroke to 0.1. And we can keep the start arrow and end arrow as the default arrows and change the size if required. So maybe to 5 or even 4. And then we can go to dimension style. Make sure you keep it in the center, horizontal. And finally, we can check our text style as well, which is Sys21 BT. So now if I create an angle this way, you can see that we have a nice proper angular dimension. So these are the default settings that we can use. Now, before I go ahead and save this template, I just want to quickly show you that, for example, if I'm creating a dimension, so let's say I create a dimension, let's go back to the linear dimension. So this is the dimension that I created. And if I select this dimension, and let's say I change the values here, let's keep this, say, 15 and 15. Now this would affect only this dimension. So the next time I create a dimension, it wouldn't read from this dimension. It will read from the default. So if you want to change the default, all you need to do is select the dimension, change the values here first, and then create the dimension. So select the dimension tool, change the values here first, and then create the dimension. So now if I change this, say for example to 0.8 again, and then I create my dimension, you can see it comes as thick. And the next time I create a dimension, it's going to read from that. So simply select the dimension, change the value here first, and then create your dimension. So the next time you create a new dimension, it will always read from the default ray settings. So I hope that made sense. Alright, so now we can save this out as a template. So I'm going to delete all of these because I don't need them to show up in my template. Now, if you're going to be using different sheets for your company, you can go ahead and create those sheets here this way, like so, and then add your text and so on. So this way you don't have to keep adding them next time. But since we're going to be using a plain template, this should be fine as well. So let's go to File, click on Save as Template, and I'm going to call this Drafting Template Plain, and then select My Templates and click on OK. So the next time you open Layout, just going to close Layout for now, File, Exit. You can see that our template shows up here. Now, if you want the template to show up as a favorite, you can simply heart it, and then it will show up in the start of your scene. So click on Drafting Template Plain, and we have our proper A1 size template. It also makes sense to add the size of the page in your template name. Alright, so in the next video, I'll show you how to insert a SketchUp model into Layout and then start setting up our drawings as well. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers. Hey guys, welcome back. Now, before we send our SketchUp model into Layout, I'm going to show you how to create the scenes and set up our plans and elevations using sections in SketchUp. So I'm going to start off with the plan. So let's go to Tools, click on Section Plane, and I'm going to create a section plane on top. I'm going to call this the Furniture Plan. It's a good idea to name your sections and your scenes as well. So let's press OK. I'm going to select this section and then use the Move tool and drag it down to create a section. Alright, now what I need to do is set up the plan view. So we always use the parallel projection mode for the plan view. So you can go to Camera and enable parallel projection, or you can press Alt W, which is the shortcut I use to switch to parallel projection mode. And then after that, you need to go to the top view as well. So you can go to Camera, Standard Views, and click on Top. Or you can also press Alt T, which is the shortcut I use. So once you've gone to the top view, it's a good idea to create your scene before you orbit or make any changes in the SketchUp model. So just go to your scenes here. You can maybe zoom in a bit so that you can see the plan better using the scroll button, and then click on the plus button to create your scene. So once you've created your scene, it's a good idea to rename your scene as well. So you can either rename your scene here. So I'm going to call this Furniture Plan. You can also go ahead and give a description and all of that. And you can also right click here and click on Rename if you want to rename your scene. Alright, so I've created my first view. Now if I orbit out and I want to go back to that view, I can simply click on Furniture Plan. Awesome. Now the next section which I'm going to create is our 4 elevations here. So again, you will have to use section planes. So go to Tools, click on Section Plane, and apply a section plane here. I'm going to call this section AA and press OK. I'm going to select this section and then move it in such that it's right in the center of the scene and I can see the bed. Now, another way to align the section correctly is simply by selecting the section, right click, and then you can click on Align View. So that's another way to align your section, or you can do it the traditional way, which is by going to Camera, standard views and clicking on either left, or in this case it's going to be right. So, and then just sort of zoom in and right click on the furniture plan and click on add. So now I'm going to rename this. So again, right click on scene 2, rename this, call this section AA. Alright, cool. Now let's add another section. So now you can make a copy of this section as well. So you can select this section, press M to move and press Ctrl to make a copy. So let's move the section here. And now if you want to flip this, you can use the rotate tool. Sort of come to the center of the scene. You can also press the top arrow key so that you lock it to the blue axis and then rotate it by 180. Alright, so once you rotate it to 180, you can just move it in. And then right click and click on active cut. So we've activated that section. I can maybe move it in a bit more. So that's right in the center of the scene, and then I can right click and click on align view. So now let's create section B. So right click and click on add and then rename this. So I'm going to rename this to section BB. Now we need to add another section. So this time we'll just add the section. So let's go to tools and click on section plane and we'll add it this side. Call this section CC, press OK, and then move it in. And then select the section, right click and click on align view. We can also hide the bed if you do not want to show the bed. So let's first create the scene. So right click on section BB and click on add. And then I'm going to rename this section. So right click, rename, call this section CC. Now let's create a section on this side. So let's go to tools, section plane and add the section here. Call this section DD, press OK. Then move it in a bit. Then you need to right click and click on align view. And then you need to create your scene. So you can either do it here or here. So let's do it here this time. Call this section DD. Alright, great. I can also create another section on top just to show the reflected ceiling plan. So I can select the section plane, press M, press Ctrl to make a copy and move it up. Make sure you're moving it in the top arrow axis. So I can just move it below the slab and then right click and click on active cut. Now, if the model is a little too slow when you create these sections, you can delete some of the models that are placed in the scene and then it'll be faster for you to work as well. So I've activated the section, but it's not really cutting anything. So I'll have to move it down a bit. So select the section, move it down. So now you can see these 4 lights here. That's all I need for this room. And then I need to go to the top view as well. So you can right click, click on align view. And then I can add my RCP plan. So right click, rename this, call this RCP plan. Now let's say, for example, you do not want to see the furniture in the reflected ceiling plan. You can select all of these furnitures and then right click and hide, or you can also press F2 to hide the objects. So we need to hide this, the laptop, a rug. And once you've hidden it, you need to right click and click on update. I'll create a bonus view, maybe a isometric view of the plan. So let's go to furniture plan first because I want to see the objects again. And then what I'll do is I'll deactivate the section cut and I'll scroll this side so that I can see the room better. And then I will hide these walls and hide our trim details. And then I'll create an additional view. So right click and click on add and rename this, call this isometric view. Now this view looks great, but then these section planes look a little too distracting. Now you can either select all these section planes one by one and then hide them. Or what I would suggest is that you create tags for all of these objects. So I'm going to go to tags here. So you can see that we do not have many tags. So if you're going to use layout in your workflow, it's a good idea to start using tags because it'll help organize your model better. So I'm going to add a tag called the section planes. And then I'm going to select all of my sections. And then to assign this tag to the section plane, I just need to go to entity info and change the tag from untag to section planes. And after you assign the section plane, you can simply click on the I tool under tags. You shouldn't really click on the I tool here because this is the hide button. So let's go to the tags and click on the I tool here. Now it will hide those section planes. And it's very important that you right click on the isometric view and click on update. So the next time I click on isometric view, you can notice that our section plane tags is off. Similarly, I can go ahead and assign different tags to different models. So some useful tags that you can create is walls, windows, then maybe slabs, furniture, lights, curtains, and so on. Once you've created your tags, you can click on name and then it will sort of sort those tags out by the nomenclature. And then you can start assigning these objects to those tags. So I'm going to select the windows, just go to tags and click on windows. I do not want the windows to be seen in my isometric view, so I can hide the windows here. Then right click on isometric view and click on update. Similarly, these curtains. So select the curtains and then change the tags to curtains, and you can hide the curtains as well. So right click on isometric view and click on update. So this is good enough for the isometric view. And I can also hide these tags. So it's a good idea to either assign the main group to your tag, or you can also enter the group and select these individual lights and assign the lights to the lights tag. So now if I hide the lights, you can see that the nested group also hides. So now I can right click on isometric view, click on update, and I'm done creating my scenes. One last tag which I'll add is decor or wall art. So let's create a tag called this wall art. Then I'm going to select these objects here and assign this to wall art and hide this. So let's update the isometric view and we are done. Now if you want a proper isometric view, you would need to keep it in parallel projection mode, because if you change the perspective, we have sort of a perspective isometric view. But most isometric views have those perfect 90 degrees. So you can see those perfect 90 degrees and 45 degrees in the scene. So this is a good view to keep, and then right click and click on update. Alright, so we set up the scenes and we are ready to go. In the next video, I'll show you how to import these scenes into layout and then start creating your drawings. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers. Hey guys, welcome back. In this video, I'll show you how to import your SketchUp model into layout and then get started with the drawings. So there's two main ways to import your model into SketchUp. The best way is by simply going to File and clicking on Send to Layout. And then this would open layout and then place your model automatically within layout as well. So this is the best way for you to bring your model into layout. And then once it opens layout, you can select your template as well. So as you can see in the previous video, we created our own template. So let's go to my template and click on drafting template plane. And now you can see that we've brought in the SketchUp view into layout and it's placed the model perfectly as well. The other way to bring in your model is by going to File and then clicking on Insert, and then make sure you change the file type to SketchUp. Select your SketchUp file and then click on Open, and that would open the SketchUp model into layout as well. Now, one important tip that I would give you is do not make any sort of dimensions in SketchUp. You can make all the dimensions in layout. And also make sure you save the file with a single file name which you're going to use in layout. In my case, I've called it send to layout master file. So you can notice that I made a mistake while naming the file. So I will have to rename this file. And you will also see how renaming this file will have an effect on layout. So I'm going to quickly close this file, rename the file, and then open it up. And also see how renaming a file, the main master file, has an effect on layout. So now you can see on layout that the file is being read from a file name called send to layout underscore master file with a double E. But we need to relink it back to the file which we've just renamed. So what we need to do is click on this link here and go to our main file, which is send to layout master file. Now it's renamed correctly as well. And then click on open. So now you can see that it's reading from the correct file. So make sure your SketchUp file that you're using in layout is the correct file. And also if you make any changes to this file, it would start updating in layout automatically. Now, for example, if I make a rectangle here, just to show you how it changes in layout. So I made a rectangle here, and then I go to file and click on save. And now if I go back to layout, you can select layout and then click on this update button here. You can see that the box appears. So that's something which you need to keep in mind, is that this file will be used throughout the entire drawing phase of the project. And it's super important that you maintain this file name as well. Now, if in case you need to make a copy of this file and keep various past versions, you can simply go to file, click on save as, copy as. And now you can see that it saves as file 1. And if I click on save, it's going to retain this original file name, which is sent to layout master file. So that's a quick tip in case you want to keep versions of your file, because sometimes the main file crashes and throws a bug splat error. So it's a good idea to keep versions of your SketchUp file as well. So now I can delete this box because I don't need that, and then save it out. So Control S to save. And then I can minimize this, and then I can select the model or the viewport here and then click on update. And then the box goes away. So that's all you have to do. And then we can save this layout file as well. So let's go to file, save. So this is the first time I'm saving this file. I'm going to call this the exercise, the lesson name. So send to layout, finish. All right. So that's how simple it is to bring your model into layout. Now, let's say, for example, you want to change the view. So you can select this viewport here and then change the view to furniture plan. And now the view changes as well. And in case you want to change the scale, you can select the viewport again and change the scale from current scale, which is a random scale here, to a scale that works. So let's try 1:240. So that's a little too small. So we can create our own scale as well. So you'll have to open and click on custom, or you can select any scale here. So let's click on custom. So these are the various scales that we have here, and we can create our own scale as well. So let's say, for example, we want to create a scale called 1:25. So I'm going to rename this correctly as well. 1 mm to 25 mm and call this 1:25 scale. And then here what I can do is change the units to mm and say 1 mm in the paper is equal to 25. So 1 mm in paper is equal to 25 mm in actual units, and then click on add custom scale. So now it comes in the bottom here. You can see 1 mm to 25 mm scale. Click on close, and then we can assign that scale as well. So let's go to our scale here and select 1 mm 1:25. All right, so we've assigned the correct scale. Now you can notice that my background is sort of dark gray. Now this is not what I want. So I will need to update the background settings in the SketchUp view. So let's go to our SketchUp view here. And then let's go to styles. Make sure you're using the drafting for layout style. Click on edit. And let's go to background settings. Now you can see that the background color is gray. So let's click on this. And let's drag the sliders to the right to make it completely white. So 255, 255 and 255, and press OK. So now you can see that the background changes. Let's click on update here, update style with changes. And this would update the style for all the scenes. So if I go to the other scenes, you can see that it updates for all the scenes. If you want to create a new style, you can click on create new style here. But this is the actual style that I need for layout. This is something which I missed out in setting up the SketchUp template video of this course. So make sure that you give the background white, and then you can click on save. So Control S to save. Let's go back to our layout here, select the viewport, and then click on update here. So all these settings fall under the SketchUp model part of the default tray. All right, great. So now you can see that we can see the background better, and you can see that the viewport extends all the way to these edges. So before you sort of reduce the size of this bounding box, you need to make sure that preserve scale on resize is switched on. because if it is switched off, then you can see that the view doesn't come the correct scale. So make sure you click on preserve scale on resize. Select the view again and change the current scale to 1:25 or maybe even 1:20. 20 looks good. And now what I can do is simply drag these sliders to the left so that it sits well, and then move it to the corner. All right. So we placed one view, and in the next video, I'll show you how you can place the other views as well, how to copy these views, align the views properly, add some text, and so on. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers. Hey guys, welcome back. In this video, I'll show you how to copy and align views and layout. So in the previous video, you learned how to bring in your model, change the scale, and also adjust the viewport. So to copy, it's a very simple process. There's two ways to copy. You can select the viewport, and then you can press Control key on your keyboard or the Option key for Mac users. Keep pressing and holding Control key, and then you can move it. You can also hold Shift to move it along a straight line. And then you need to release the mouse key first, and then release the keys on your keyboard. So press and hold the Control key on your keyboard to make a copy, or the Alt key on the Mac keyboard, and then click once. And then when you're dragging it down, you can hold Shift as well so that you drag it down along the straight line. And then you can release the key on the mouse, and then you can release the keys on your keyboard as well. Release them together, and then you'll be able to make a copy. So once you made it a copy, you can also change the view. So this is our floor plan. Maybe you can add 3 additional sections in this page. So I'm going to select this and change this to section AA, and this to section BB. Then I need to make a copy again. The other way you can make a copy is simply by pressing Ctrl C and then pressing Ctrl V. So this would copy the viewport on top of the existing viewport, and then simply drag it to the right. So when you're dragging it to the right, hold Shift so that you drag it a straight line. So sometimes if you don't release the mouse key, it will move it down. So let's Ctrl Z that again. So Ctrl Z to undo, and then make sure you hold Shift properly on the keyboard, and then release the mouse key first, and then it would move it correctly. So always release the mouse key first and then release your keyboard keys. All right, I'm going to change this to section DD, section CC that is. And then we can add an additional view as well. So I'm just going to move this to the left a bit. And then again to copy, I can press Control. Now you shouldn't press Shift together. You should press Control first. And once you start moving it or copying it, then you hold Shift on your keyboard. And then when you want to place it, you can release the mouse key first, and then it would place the model. And then this would be section DD. Now the reason why this is overlapping with this section is because of our viewport extent. So we'll have to drag this to the left. Or the better way to do it is by creating a clipping mask. So all you need to do is first draw a rectangle. So click on the rectangle tool here, and then I'm going to click on one edge, and then click on the second edge. And then you need to go back to the select tool, select this boundary edge, and then select the viewport as well. So press Ctrl key to make a double selection. So I'm going to select the viewport. So you selected both, and then go to edit and simply click on create clipping mask. That would get rid of all the additional elements outside the section. So now I can just move it back. Similarly, I'm going to do that for all the views here. So let's draw the rectangle, select the rectangle, and then the viewport, and then go to edit and click on create clipping mask. All right, I'm going to also create an additional view because I can see that I have enough space in this page. So I'm going to press Ctrl, then move this to the left, hold Shift to lock it to that line, release the mouse key, and then release the keyboard keys. All right, and then I'm going to select this and change this to RCP plan. So now obviously I would need to extend the clipping mask. Let's just create a new clipping mask. So click on rectangle, place it at the endpoint and at this endpoint. Then select the two and go to edit and click on create clipping mask. Alright, great. Alright, so now we've created all the views for our page. In the next video, I'll show you how to align your views and then we'll jump into creating our layers. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers. Hey guys, welcome back. In this video, I'll show you how to align some of these views because you can see that they are on top and down. So it's always a good idea to sort of align them and that will help compose the sheet better as well. So to align the views, you need to simply click on the floor plan here and then you have something called the gripper tool. So you just need to drag these gripper tools to the corner here. So now it's placed there. And now when you drag it, it will sort of snap to the edges. So now I know it's perfectly aligned to that corner there. And then while moving it, I'm going to lock it to the line by pressing the shift key. So it keeps it straight. Then move it to the side. Similarly, this as well. Select the section, hold the gripper, and then drag it to the corners here. So once you've dragged it without clicking anywhere else, you need to click on the section plane and then sort of move it to that edge. And then while moving it, you can hold shift so that it locks it to the axis and then release the mouse key and you are done. Let's do the same for these views as well. So let's select this section here, select the gripper, move it to the corner, then move this to this corner here, and then sort of move it to the right. And finally this view. So you can see that when I drag without clicking on the clipper, it drags the whole view. So press Ctrl Z. Always drag the gripper to the corners here and then drag your section. So now I'm snapped it to that corner there, then move it to the right. It's always important that you release the mouse key first and then the keyboard keys. So I'm going to press Ctrl Z. So move it to the right. So you can notice that if I release the mouse key, it doesn't snap to the straight line. So I'm going to hold shift, release the mouse key first, and then you're good to go. Now, if you want to align this view to below this plan here, you can draw a reference line first. So click on this line here and click on that edge, sort of create that, and then click the second time to create a reference line. Then you need to select the viewport and drag the gripper to the corner there, and then simply move it to the right. Also, when you're moving, hold shift so that it locks to that line, and then you can release the mouse key and then the shift key on your keyboard. So now you can see that it's sitting perfectly below the plan. So I can delete the reference line. And one last step which I will show you is how you can nudge these views in the viewport. So for example, if you want to select these two viewports and move it to the left, now instead of moving it by dragging the mouse, you can do that as well. You can also press the right arrow keys or the left arrow keys and then it would nudge by 0.5 mm. Now if you want to nudge at a greater distance, you can hold shift and then press the right arrow key and that would nudge by 5 mm. So you can't really change the default values of the nudge because it's inbuilt, but that's a quick tip in case you want to nudge stuff in SketchUp. So I'm going to drag another line here. So I'm going to create another line here, select this viewport, move the gripper to the left, then move this to the left. So now it is sitting under that section perfectly, and then you can nudge it to the right a bit by pressing the right arrow keys. So that's a quick tip. And then let's move this to the left as well. So there's enough gap. Maybe I don't really need to align these sections at this edge, so I'll just move it to the right. Right, great. So that's how you align views and also move them in the page. In the next video, I'll show you how to create the layers and then we'll start creating our dimensions as well. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Hey guys, welcome back. In this video, I'll show you how to add the layers in our layout for SketchUp model. So on the right, we have the default tray. So in the bottom, you'll find the layers here. So let's click on layers and then we can start adding in our layers. So I'm going to add in my layer and then I'm going to also rename this. So right click rename. I'm going to call this furniture plan. And then we have our RCB plan or our lighting plan. So right click, rename, call this AA, which is section A, BB. You can also double click CC. Now in case you add additional layers, you can press the minus sign here to delete them. Then double click and press DD to create your last layer. The reason why I give these layers like this is because now in case I create dimensions and all of that, I would like all those dimensions and the plan and everything to sit within the same layer. So this viewport here should fall under the furniture plan, and then when I hide the furniture plan, it would hide the viewport and all the dimensions as well. This way I can keep this sheet more organized. Alright, now we need to move these viewports to the correct layers. So you need to select the viewport, right click, and then go to move to layer and click on furniture plan. Let's do it for the other views. Alright, so now I've moved all the viewports to the correct layers. And now if I hide any of these, you can see that it starts hiding. And this works perfectly when we are organizing our sheet. Now another important tip is working on the current layer or the correct layer. So you can see that we have this pencil icon here. Now if I click here, it changes the active layer. So if you're working on the furniture plan, make sure to select the furniture plan first and then start drawing in your dimensions and text. Alright, so this was a quick video into creating layers in layout. The next video, I'll show you how to add the text, dimensions and more. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers. Alright guys, so we've come to the end of this video. Now if you'd like to complete this project and create your own set of drawings with layout for SketchUp, check out the link in the description. You'll head to the complete layout for SketchUp for interior design and you'll learn a lot more about layout for SketchUp. We'll be releasing more content in this course and you'll get access to that content for free as well. I hope you guys subscribe to the channel as well. It goes a long way into helping us grow and create more awesome content, especially related to architectural design, interior design, and design in general. This is Manish signing off, aka SketchUp Guru, or that's what I call myself. I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers.